Alrighty, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining me today for this month's Solution for Rural Development webinar titled Economic Trailblazing: How to Harness Backyard Ecotourism. This webinar is brought to you for free by the Arizona Rural Development Council, AZRDC, and the local First Arizona Foundation. These monthly webinars are based around rotating topics that address various issues and solutions surrounding the development process, specifically to rural areas. So, before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping rules of the platform. If you're having any difficulty hearing, just make sure your volume is at the appropriate level. Headphones sometimes help. If you're having any visual issues, we suggest shutting down all other programs that you have running and that any extra windows you have open are closed to not slow down your internet processing. If you're having extremely severe issues, we suggest logging out of the webinar platform and then logging back on. So this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to you afterwards. I have your registration information, and I will send out an email in approximately 1 week with the webinar and contact follow-up of our speakers. In terms of question and answer, we have some time for clarifying questions right after a presenter has finished, but we ask that clarifying questions are just very short if you didn't understand a term or just have a really brief question. But we ask for most questions to be held till the last presenter. We have a whole Q&A session. However, also if you have to go beforehand, feel free to ask your question. And to ask your question, we ask that you type it into your chat box, and I'll read it out loud and hand it over to whichever presenter. And the chat box is to the left, the bottom left of your screen. Now, this is me, your facilitator for today. I'm Maya Ozzie, and I am the Rural Program Coordinator for Local First Arizona Foundation. I come from a background within community economic and tourism development, and have worked within natural resource management in the past throughout various rural areas. My point of focus within all my work is sustainable and equitable solutions. And up next, we have our presenters. Here we have Matt Nelson. Matt has been the executive director of the Arizona Trail Association since 2012. Among his contributions to the Arizona National Scenic Trail over the past 18 years are trail design, archaeological surveys, volunteer trail construction, and explorations of the AZT on foot, mountain bike, and horseback. Matt has over 500 published articles to his credit and is the primary author of Your Complete Guide to the Arizona National Scenic Trail and the Arizona Trail Junior Explorer Handbook. Our next presenter, Tamara Morgan. Tamara, sorry for that. Tamara co-owns and operates That Brewery, a restaurant and brewery in the Rim Country. She has actively been involved with many aspects of the community to help drive business in the area, and her biggest passion has been to increase economic impact in the rural communities of Pine, Strawberry, and Rim Country by promoting outdoor activities. And our last presenter, Mila Lira, is the mayor of Superior and owner of Miracle Executive Services. Early in her career, Mila helped to develop the Legends of Superior Trails, and as the executive director, along with the Copper Corridor Economic Development Coalition, she works with the local gateway communities to help them connect with resources. So these are wonderful presenters for the day. I also want to shout out our people in Prescott for gathering at Granite Mountain Brewery as a community together to come listen in on this webinar. I thought that was really cool. And all of our participants from outside of the state, we want to welcome you. And please know to contact me if you want to be a part of our newsletters and get more information on the Solutions for Rural Development webinar series. And before I turn it over, some of the key takeaways our presenters wanted you to know that you're going to leave here with are how and why outdoor recreation is a sustainable gold mine for rural communities, what 3 items are needed for sustainable economic prosperity, how to personalize your backyard ecotourism and what that looks like, and just how to engage interest and education within your community for further marketing and maintenance support of your trail systems. So with that being said, I would like to introduce our first presenter, Matt Nelson. Thank you, Matt. And
thank you, Maya. It's great that everybody was able to join us today. And so I'll begin the presentation on behalf of the Arizona Trail Association. And I will say that although a lot of what I will be talking about directly relates to the Arizona Trail, these same principles can be applied to any trail, either a trail that's already been built near your community or a trail that should be built near your community in order to benefit both the community, visitors, and the state itself. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Arizona Trail, it's an 800-mile non-motorized trail from Mexico to Utah that was constructed over a 30-year period, primarily with volunteer labor and local support. It's open to all non-motorized forms of outdoor recreation, including hiking, running, mountain biking, backpacking, horseback riding, and it's not open to motorized except for where it shares alignment with a dirt road. It's been said that the Arizona Trail is the largest volunteer service project in the history of the state of Arizona, so tens of thousands of people contributed to both its construction and now its maintenance and promotion and protection throughout the state. It's one of only 11 national scenic trails in the entire country. Some of you are familiar with things like the Pacific Crest Trail or the Appalachian Trail. Those are also national scenic trails, and the Arizona Trail is one of those. Our mission is to build, maintain, promote, protect, and sustain the Arizona Trail as a unique encounter with the land. Our vision is an 800-mile non-motorized path from Mexico to Utah, connecting deserts, mountains, canyons, forests, communities, and people. When we have polled those who have finished the trail, whether they've done it all at once, on foot or on horseback or on mountain bike, or if they've done it kind of on the 10-year plan where they've spent every weekend or every other weekend or little bits at a time completing the entire trail, we've asked them to share their experiences with us through kind of an online survey. And what we've known is a couple of things. One is very surprising. I'll share that with you in a moment. But first, we always assumed that it was Arizona's natural resources that would attract people to this trail and leave the most lasting impressions. Places like Saguaro National Park in the Sonoran Desert, which has incredible views and incredible wildflower blooms in the springtime. Places like the San Francisco Peaks, over 12,000 feet high outside of Flagstaff, an ancient volcano. And then places, of course, like Grand Canyon National Park, which the Arizona Trail travels right through the heart of. But as we got information back from people that had used the trail, what we found is that the most lasting impressions of this trail were 2 things. One, the most challenging parts where people really genuinely suffered, that left kind of a deep mark on people, which is bound to happen when you're on an 800-mile trail in the middle of nowhere. And the second thing, which was a little bit more surprising, were the communities. More people commented on the Arizona Trail Gateway communities and their experiences with people in these towns than almost any of the other natural resources that I had just talked about a moment ago. So although we have internally defined the Arizona Trail as this wild path from Mexico to Utah, what we know to be true is that it's the interactions with local people that really define the Arizona Trail experience. Since 2011, we've had an Arizona Trail Gateway Community Program. The sign on the lower left of the slide shows the Gateway Community signs that can be installed as visitors are entering a town to designate the fact that this town is a gateway community. The map on the right is just a very small, blown-up version of the larger Arizona Trail map. The towns that are highlighted are individual communities that have been designated as Arizona Trail Gateway communities. So these are essentially the hubs that visitors can come into to access the trail, as well as an opportunity for people that are on the trail to get off the trail and get in and then resupply. So that could be things like food, lodging, and supplies to kind of get back on the trail. I think a lot of people define the Arizona Trail as, or they think in terms of the trail users as the long-distance hikers or mountain bikers. That's less than 1% of actual trail users. The vast majority of people that spend time on this trail or someday hope to complete it are just out for a day or sometimes a weekend. So diving into the Gateway Community Program a little bit, we tried to poll a number of trail users to say, what are you looking for in a gateway community? What are the most important services? And these are among kind of the top 10 that I pulled out for this presentation. The first is immediate access to recreation trails and public land. We do have some gateway communities that are pretty far from the trail, but this trail was intentionally constructed to go into extremely remote areas and to avoid most towns and cities. So really any community within proximity to the Arizona Trail participates in the Gateway Community Program. The other one is lodging and camping opportunities, obviously, both for day users and long-distance individuals. Restaurants with a focus on locally produced food, whether it's stuff that's manufactured or grown nearby. There's a growing movement for like localvores, they're called, so people that want to eat food that's hyper-local. Next is beer. Trail users tend to love beer, especially locally crafted beer. And Tamara from that brewery will talk a little bit more about the importance of that brewery's contributions to the Arizona Trail. General stores and markets, entertainment. Sometimes people do come with their families, and although one family member may be very interested in hiking or mountain biking for the day or for the weekend, everybody else that comes with them is looking for other things to do. So that could be local entertainment, and then other forms of outdoor recreation. So although you might have a hiker in the family, it's nice to be able to link in and promote other forms of outdoor recreation that can be found nearby. And last, which is by far the most important, is friendly people who are knowledgeable of the area, its history, and its attractions. As much as our organization likes to promote the Arizona Trail, what we know is that the people that represent the trail best are those who live in these gateway communities, so that when either locals or visitors stop into a specific destination and ask about how do I get to the trail, what are there to do, our maps and information only provide so much. It really comes down to people who work in like the local Circle K or the local restaurant or the local visitor center to be able to provide information about what the Arizona Trail is all about. One of the things I'd like to talk about now is how outdoor recreation in general, but especially trails, are a sustainable gold mine in your backyard. The Outdoor Industry Association recently released its figures for 2016. You might have to zoom in to be able to see them, but the most important figures that I extrapolated from their report are specific to the state of Arizona, and that outdoor recreation generates $21.2 billion annually in the state of Arizona. Outdoor recreation alone. What we know from previous studies is that 75% of that $21.2 billion is specifically comes from trip-related expenses. So it's not the expensive gear they might be buying to go on outdoor adventures. That's included in that $21.2 billion, but it's only 25% of that overall figure. The rest of it is heads and beds, so to speak. So people that are visiting towns, spending money in those communities to go play outdoors. 201,000 direct jobs are directly linked to the outdoor recreation industry, and over $5.7 billion in taxes and salaries, wages and salaries, $1.4 billion in state and local taxes. The other figure, which is on the lower left, kind of hard to see, but you can find it online, is that more jobs in Arizona depend on outdoor recreation than the tech and defense sectors combined. Some of the other obvious economic benefits of trails in your community are that they actually increase property value. And this is something that homeowners, I think, were concerned about 10 years ago. They didn't necessarily want a trail near their backyard, but all of the studies that have come from home builders associations and realtor associations say that 74% of people are more likely to purchase a home that's within walking or biking distance to a recreation trail. When prospective home buyers were polled and asked 52 different questions about which of these amenities are most attractive in your next home purchase, proximity to walking, running, and biking trails was number 3 out of 52. So this is something that people are looking for. Trails influence business location and relocation decisions. There's a great example of this in Pinal County, where a large employer was looking to relocate, and one of the first questions they asked, aside from land value, was what national parks and trails are nearby that potential employees could visit. The other important point is trails revitalize depressed areas. So if you have a community or a part of town where there is low occupancy business rates, walking and biking trails help to revitalize that. A recent study from Pennsylvania showed that one particular town, when they installed a hiking biking trail system, went from 41% downtown occupancy to 100% with a waiting list. And again, for locals, trails provide a low or no-cost recreation to families relative to most other recreational services that would need to be provided either by local government or private business. So when it comes to trail development and construction and building the infrastructure for these, we found that there are three elements that are absolutely essential to success: communities, land managers, and then outdoor recreation groups. Communities can be defined as like local government, could be chambers of commerce, nonprofit organizations, business owners, clubs or groups, or just anybody in the community that really wants to get behind a trail project. And again, if the trail's already been built, it's a matter of promoting it. If the trail's not yet been built, then this is a little bit more applicable to that, to how do we get this trail built and on the ground so that both locals and visitors can use it. Land managers are obviously anybody located nearby that has decision-making power where that trail is going to go. Could be city property, could be the county, could be state parks. There are numerous Arizona state parks throughout the state, and they've been a great partner to work with. In the state of Arizona, U.S. Forest Service is one of the largest land managers, so we actively engage with them for trail projects. Bureau of Land Management is another, and then also in Arizona, the Arizona State Land Department. Also, even though the Arizona Trail doesn't pass through any Indian reservation, they are an engaged stakeholder when it comes to trail development. And in fact, right now, the Navajo Nation has a major trail building project that's happening in communities throughout the entire Navajo Nation. Next up is outdoor recreation groups. So you want to engage anybody that you think could be a trail user: hikers, runners, mountain bikers, horseback riders, motorized recreation groups if you decide to build a motorized trail, bird watchers, nature enthusiasts, photographers, people that are into geocaching, essentially anybody that you can identify in your community that's going to be an advocate for trails, get them on board early on. So once you've identified who the stakeholders are going to be from communities, land managers, and outdoor recreation groups, one of the first steps is a stakeholder meeting. Get everybody together in the room and just share ideas. Talk about what the trail in your backyard is now and what it should look like in the future, or how should we build this new trail system. The photograph you see is from a recent Payson and Mogollon Rim Country area trails meeting that's been very successful. They're looking at investing a lot of time and resources into trail development in the Payson area, and so these stakeholders meet quarterly. After the meeting takes place, of which there are probably going to be many, then the next step is a collaborative plan. Get all those people in the room and decide, what is this trail going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? How are we going to promote it? Who is it going to be open to? And where is it going to go? And I think that piece, once that's defined, really kind of helps set the stage for success. But engaging as many people as possible early on so that nobody feels left out is vital. Chances are this trail is going to be built on city, county, or federal land, and so depending on where you live, that process can take a long time. So the most important step in a trail development process is supreme patience. And anybody who's been involved with this before can tell you the same thing. Most of us, especially in the nonprofit world, would like to see things happen within a year or 2 or 3, maybe 4. Sometimes with land managers, in order to go through prioritization and environmental clearance, you're looking at 5 or more years. So being extremely patient throughout the whole process is key. The next part is the fun part. Of course, once you've engaged all the stakeholders, figure out where your trail is going to go, what it's going to look like, then it comes to trail development and promotion. And I feel like that's what the Arizona Trail Association has done very well, is both engaging locals and citizens to help build the trail as volunteers with professional guidance, and then training and inspiring them to take care of it into the future, because no trail system is going to be successful without a major community engagement component. And so inspiring stewardship to be able to care for this trail into the future is absolutely necessary for long-term sustainability. And I think one of the best ways to do that is engage people in the trail construction process. Because once people have spent time and energy and given blood and sweat, tears to actually constructing a piece of trail across the land, they'll be tied to it forever. One of the most important points that I try to make with people in gateway communities is that the Arizona Trail is their trail. It's your trail. Even though it was built kind of under the guidance and direction of our organization, we don't own a single square inch of it. And the reality is we have a tiny little office in Tucson, Arizona, and this is an 800-mile trail that stretches throughout the entire state. We envision every gateway community being essentially a trailhead and a hub that people visit, spend time in, fall in love with, and then have their outdoor adventures. But again, I think one of the defining features of this trail, once people get out there and experience it, is the people they meet along the way. And not a lot of people on the Arizona Trail right now, so most of the people that they interact with are in these gateway communities, and that's what leaves a lasting impression that we know is an incredibly valuable part of the trail experience. Thanks so much for allowing me to talk to you just a little bit. If there's any clarifying questions or anything specifically, I'd be happy to answer those now through the chat box. If not, I look forward to hearing Tamara and Mila present about their experiences and perspectives on the Arizona Trail, and then we can also take questions at the very end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. So I see a couple people typing. So we'll just give it 1 second. As we get ready for the chat. All right, so if we get any brief clarifying questions for Matt, he can answer them in the chat, but we're going to move forward to our next presenter. So Tamara, please take it away.
Hi, so my name is Tamara, and I'm talking to you from Pine, Arizona right now. And my husband, Steve, and I left our corporate jobs in Phoenix and opened up a restaurant bar here in 2004. Our family and friends and coworkers all thought we were a bit crazy, and maybe we were, but we were ready for a major change, so we took a leap. It was going pretty well until the downturn in the economy in 2008 and 2009. And our business at the time was okay in the summer, but pretty minimal in the winter. And it's hard to keep staff on year-round when your business is slow for a third of the year. So we were looking for ways to increase that. Steve had been brewing for quite a few years, so we decided to travel around Colorado on a brewery tour and see what we thought about breweries. So we grabbed Steve's brother and his wife and mapped out a plan. Total numbers nerds that we are. We had it all in Excel, and what breweries were we going to and who was open when and how many were in the area and could we walk, and we planned it all out. So our trip was actually 1,894 miles. We went to 35 breweries, and I even snuck in 5 wineries in there. So in 8 days, we had about 279 different beers, and we were pulling a pop-up camper, so we camped most of the time. It was fantastic, and we really fell in love with breweries even more than we had before. They all collaborated really well. They helped each other. They let us ask stupid questions. They let us tour all their facilities. They really just opened their arms up when we came up there. So it was pretty amazing. Let me figure out how to move my slide. So this was great because we were looking for opportunities to bring more businesses to our rural community in Pine Strawberry and more business year-round. We're in a valley surrounded by the Mogollon Rim, and so Firewise is always at the top of our minds in this area. We love trails and we love beer, so we decided that that's what we wanted to do, was open a brewery in our backyard. We started our remodel and we began brewing in 2012. Around that time, Matt, who you just heard from, he came to us and talked to us about making a beer for the Arizona Trail. And this is really where we totally started collaborating. We end up with such a stronger reach when you partner. So each business has a variety of resources to draw from, no matter who you are. So in our collaboration, we had brewer knowledge, we had beer, we had a good customer base, and we had a growing plan for distribution throughout Arizona. The Arizona Trail, of course, had a much larger customer base. They have access to more designers. They had more followers. They'd been around a lot longer than us as a business, and they had access to a lot of people with the love of hiking in their reach. So we were hooked, a beer helping the trail. So we set out together to design the logo and a variety of different other things. We created discount coupons for their members for the Arizona Trail. And this not only created value for their members, but then it brought people also to our small town of Pine. And so with the Arizona Trail needing to find a variety of sources of income, and we needed to get our name out there and beer out in Arizona, when we thought about it, what are we doing? So we're doing exactly what we love. We're making beer, we're talking about beer, we're drinking beer, we're making money for our business, we're bringing more people into our community, and at the same time we're making money for the Arizona Trail, for trail building and maintenance. So it's a complete win-win for both of us. We donate a percentage of all of our proceeds from the Arizona Trail to the Arizona Trail Association. We donate beer, kegs, and cans to their festivals for other fundraising efforts. And in return, the Arizona Trail shows us a great amount of appreciation over and over in a ton of mentions, in their advertising, in sharing resources with us, and in quite a bit of ways. So we opened our cottonwood production facility and tasting room in 2014, and that's when we started canning. So canning the Arizona Trail made it even better. We always love to say that it's the easiest way to be on the trail if you can't hike it, because then money's going back to the association. Another trail benefit for our area is that the more trails are used, the more we are keeping our area fire-wise. By that, I mean feet on the ground reduces fuels as the trails are used more. The more people that are on them means less brush, less dead trees, because people, bikes, horses, they all reduce fire factors when they're used more, so there's less to burn in case a fire comes through. A good trail system will increase the value of the forest surrounding us, resulting in more resources for maintenance. And basically, trails create a much needed fire break in our area, and we love to hike, so anything to do with trail building is a winner in our book. So Steve, my husband, worked on a recipe to develop a beer that we thought would be easy drinking and super flavorful when you're coming off the trail. Super hard job to be able to have to taste beer all the time, I know. The Arizona Trail has fast become our flagship beer, and it's won many medals, including silver at the American Beer Festival in Chandler in 2016. We were third in flagship beers in Phoenix Magazine's Battle of the Brews this year. We took first place at the Flagstaff Brouhaha this year. It's such a great advertisement for that beer and for the Arizona Trail. We're now in all the Total Wines, Bevmos, most of the Fry's marketplaces. We're in Whole Foods, a couple hundred bars and restaurants throughout Arizona. So now we're in the Grand Canyon, Flagstaff, Kingman, Yuma, Rim Country, Tucson, all over the Phoenix and metropolitan area. And for us, we think that that's a great reach. So when you think about it, people are out there drinking a beer and they say, where's Pine? They're somewhere else in Arizona. We get that a ton. And then they travel to our community to check us out because now they've heard us. So to make sure that we get the trail users to stop in our town, we really pride ourselves on being a gateway community. We accept resupply packages for through hikers. We have trail user boxes. We have a logbook. We have town info readily available so we can tell hikers what's here while they're here. The Arizona Trail, us, and the Gateway Community Liaison all really helped a lot educating the local businesses on what being a gateway community could really do for us. And we had such a great response, and so many of them jumped on board. We even, as a community, decided to make our own Gateway Community banner you can see on there. And a lot of the businesses in the area have them hanging in front of their businesses to make sure that the hikers know that we welcome them here. There are a lot of great stories and stuff about trail users in our area. I really love that earlier this year there was a 17-year-old girl and her brother, who I'm thinking was about 19 or 20. They were heading to our place, and a couple days before they got here, their mom came up. And of course, with trail hikers, they can just have an estimate on when they're supposed to be here. So she was here a little before them. So she toured the community and went through the town and ate at the restaurants and stayed at our cabin, and then rented them a cabin and left them resupply boxes with cute notes all over it. It was really exciting to meet her and understand that her kids that she was confident enough in her kids to leave them really in the trail's hands, because that's a really long trail, 800 miles. And she was excited for them to be coming through our place because she thought that they would really love it and be welcomed here. We had another guy that came through that had tattoos of every trail that he had done, like the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail. And so when he came into the restaurant, he would, lift up his pant legs and show everybody and talk about all these trails. So now the Arizona Trail is part of his tattooed artwork. And blogs and newsletters include us all the time. I did a quick scan on the web and a couple of things where we found and appreciated great hiker support from that brewery in Pine, Deb from 12 of 14. If you're doing the trail, just get your packages sent to that brewery. At the brewery, I got my resupply package. We hung out a bit. It was a great birthday dinner, and the gang got me a slice of cake with ice cream. The place was hopping with hikers. That's from Trackback, and he did this on a unicycle in April of 17. Another one, we really needed a rest day, so we stayed focused and pushed on to Pine, Arizona. It was a cold, rainy day, but the staff of that brewery and pub warmly welcomed this ragtag bunch of scraggly, smelly through hikers and immediately set us up with some righteous pints of microbrewed Arizona Trail Ale. All of us were super needy when we reached Pine, and we got everything we needed and wanted. Great beer, delicious meals, hot showers, warm and dry beds, a laundromat, a progressive market with some much needed rest. That was from Simcoe's in June of 16. So just thinking about it, how many of these people's friends will read about our community and the Arizona Trail after their friends came through? How many will want to do this hike now because they've seen the support in the gateway communities? And how many now just learned about pine strawberry in the Arizona Trail? So it's fantastic for our community. A little bit about us. Pine Strawberry is Pine is a little over a mile long. We're on Highway 87 in the center of Arizona. We're 3 miles from Strawberry, and you probably pretty much always hear Pine Strawberry as one community, and that's what we want. We're really one community. We're unincorporated, rural, and we have about 59 businesses. That doesn't include home-based businesses. There's about 1,900 people in Pine, but 60% of them are part-time only. So you can imagine how we need a lot of outside people coming through our area. Our community really stepped up, and a lot of them became trail angels, which is a fantastic program that the Arizona Trail has on their website. And they can offer to do a variety of things for hikers, from caching water, offering beds to stay in, driving them to bigger stores in Payson, making camping available in their yards, giving them a place to do laundry, a variety of things. Our businesses really do what they can to cater to the trail users, and it's pretty exciting. Our local market each year kind of tries to find out what the trail users want. What do they want on the shelves? And she tries to make sure that it's available to them during the hiker season. And then we have a great mix of food, bars, and different genres in our small community. That brewery has locally sourced meats and vegetables. We have fantastic burgers, prime rib sandwiches, house-made mac and cheese, daily specials, vegetarian items, and of course that beer. And then within a mile of us, there's a really good variety of other restaurants, each kind of with their own niche. So we have barbecue and wood-fired pizzas. We have fresh sliced deli meats and cheeses. We have Italian food, Mexican food. We have homemade pastries. Recently, a local bar just added on sushi one night a week. So we have a variety of things. So for trail users, Pine is pretty much a one-stop shopping from breakfast through dinner. And then we also have a laundromat, a post office, we have camping, we have cabin and room rentals, we have a thrift store, a hardware store, and then we have a fantastic library that has computers and free Wi-Fi so that they can get on there. We really see the impact of the trail users, their friends and their families on our community. It's grown year over year. We really want them to come visit, to come back, bring their friends and families again. And we do that by making sure that we're learning what they want and keeping ourselves knowledgeable on what's available in our areas. So when they ask, we know what they can do and where to send them. Most of the businesses understand that even if the trail users and their visitors that are with them go to a couple of restaurants, maybe the market, and go to do laundry, it helps many of the other businesses that they didn't get to visit this time, because the server that helped them at the restaurant now has additional income and tip money to be able to spend at the antique shop when her friends come in, or at the bars for drinks after work. The antique shop has more income because the server shop there. It goes on and pays itself forward. And if we keep our rural businesses healthy by supporting each other, then people want to come back because they know what to expect. It's nice to know that your favorite room or your favorite restaurant is still available when they come back into our community. We try and cater to the trail users because we want their adventure to be in our backyard, to keep our businesses in business. It also helps to improve wildfire protection in our area, and it allows people to bring friends up over and over for weekend hikes, attend the festivals we have, to eat in our area and shop in our shops. So this leads to a variety of other partnerships that you don't even realize are going to happen when you first start doing stuff like collaborating, because bloggers and people on social media start tagging, hashtag Arizona Trail, hashtag that brewery, hashtag saw that beer, hashtag pine strawberry, and then all of those things are out there. They have friends that then want to check out this hike or check out that brewery or come to our community, and then the reach grows even more. Our craft festivals get more recognition because people are checking out what there is to do in our area. So in turn, our local nonprofits benefit by gaining more traffic and funds. Like this Saturday at our Oktoberfest, we always have an Arizona Trail basket at our auction. And we put in there Arizona Trail Ale beer, we put in Arizona Trail socks, bandanas, maps, and then the Arizona Trail gets more info out there to the people, and we raise money for another local charity. So again, another win. The visitors see how great our community is. They watch our good temperatures, they visit our shops and restaurants, hike our trails, and then Matt touched on this too. Some look at real estate and then purchase properties, and our property values have stayed really good, and we have a slow flow of new people with new ideas coming into our community. Another great thing in the area that we have is Fire on the Rim mountain bike race. And this was developed to help our economy also in rim country and to build more trails, because as a community we realize that the more good trails we have, the more people will return to visit. And of course reduce our fuels, keep us safer if a fire comes through. So it's another great partnership that we've developed. Our first race was in 2011 with 87 mountain bikers. This year was our 7th race, and we had 294 riders. Steve and I head up some of the committees for the race. We help to coordinate it, and we're really proud to say that we've been able to be the title sponsor for this race for 5 years now. And we can only do it because many people love beer and love trails, so we're a match made for each other. The race gets people of all ages. We have babies all the way up to people in their 80s. Families come up and camp, they stay in the rental cabins or in their weekend cabins. They shop in our shops, they eat and drink in our restaurants and bars, and they visit throughout the year. The Arizona Trail always gets a free booth at our events so that they can talk about the trail and help to bring more people up in the area. And we have amazing community support for this event and trails. Many hands have done lots of trail building. There are more people on the area trails every year. Between Fire on the Rim mountain bike race income and donations and grants, we've brought in about $300,000 just for pine strawberry trails. And fuels reduction projects have brought in close to $4 million for our community. A fuel break, in case if you're not aware, in our area, it's a 711-acre strip of healthy cleared forest that the U.S. Forest Service puts into place. They did it a few decades ago. The idea is to give firefighters a chance to fight any fire trying to enter the community from the forest, as well as any fire trying to enter the forest from the community. So all of the maps that we create for our area include the Arizona Trail on them. And then it's kind of hard to see, but at the bottom of this map, you can also see that we pride ourselves and show that we're a gateway community and that they can get information at a lot of the businesses here. So basically, to wrap up, your backyard can be a fantastic way to pull in tourism traffic for your community. What do you have in your area that others may not? And collaboration with the Arizona Trail is a win-win. Sharing resources, helping each other in so many ways. Beer and trails are a perfect fit, but there are so many other things that fit into collaborating with a trail. There's even Arizona Trail trail bars. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. But think outside the box and look at where you can collaborate. Rural communities can greatly benefit from embracing themselves as a gateway community. What do you have that trail users may want? And then educate everyone in your area for what you have available. So that's the finish of mine. If there's any clarifying questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, we'll do the Q&A at the end. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tamara. All right, so if you all have any clarifying questions, you know what to do. Type them into your chat box, and Tamara will get those answered as we move forward with Mila. So Mila, please go ahead whenever you all are ready.
Okay,
You just cut out, Mila. Try again.
can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, you're back online.
Okay, well, thank you. I've been traveling, so excuse my hoarse voice. My name is Mila Besich-Lira. I am a lifelong resident of Superior, Arizona. And probably prior to returning home back in 2006, I really didn't know too much about the Arizona Trail or really experiencing the outdoor nature activities that were in my community. We grew up kind of taking it all for granted. So what I'm really here today is to tell you a little bit about Superior's story and how we got started and why it became very important. Everything that Matt and Tamara have told you are extremely important. We all work together. We have a Gateway Advisory Committee that we meet 3 or 4 times a year to talk about how do our communities work better together. So I'm happy to share my story with you and happy to take any clarifying questions at the end. So a little bit of a backstory about Superior. Superior is the center, one of the centermost points of the Arizona Trail. We have the Picket Post Trailhead, which is right in the heart of the Tonto National Forest. We are 60 miles east of downtown Phoenix, so we have a great location for people coming out to do some day hiking or longer term hiking. Superior is a mining community, or you could say we're a town with a mine. And in 1982, the mine had shut down. In 1996, it had shut down for good. So we were struggling to diversify our local economy. When I graduated from high school in 1996, people were pretty much like, go ahead and leave town. There's not going to be anything here to do. So in around 2005, 2006, local leaders were trying to think outside of the box, and they were trying to find some low-hanging fruit. Tourism was one of those things. There was also a great pressure to build upon a diversified economy because the Resolution Copper project was about to get started, and they were ramping up to get their land exchange and permits and all of that kind of good stuff. So they started working on tourism development. I will tell you that leadership has a tremendous amount of impact on how quickly you can move through some of these things. Superior was going through a tremendous amount of political volatility. We had one mayor who was completely supportive of this. When we got started with the naming of the Legends of Superior Trails and working on our little magma club and building a connector trail, he was all for it. He had no problem giving up his Saturdays to come out and work on the trail or, have city resources available to some of this stuff. Then he was recalled. Another mayor came in, and he was not as supportive. And so we had key people in the community who were willing to see this happen. So they formed a nonprofit, and it was focusing on outdoor recreation. And like Matt said earlier, just remember that everything that you do, all good things are usually marathons. They're never sprints. We had some challenges that we were facing amongst just the community leadership changes, and that was some challenges. The US 60 was going to be expanded from 4 lanes, from 2 lanes into 4 lanes, a divided highway into Superior. Our long-term goal was to connect the Picket Post Trailhead all the way into Superior at our airport, along the highway into our downtown, and up to our canyon segment of our Queen Creek Canyon segment of the trail. Hence, one of the reasons why we named the Legends of Superior Trails the way we did is that we wanted to bring the history and mystery and all the legends of Superior, take it into basically an outside museum. So we're, like every other nonprofit, we're consistently faced with volunteer capacity, lots of plans, but not enough funding. But there were opportunities for us in that we were able to develop some stronger partnerships. The times that we've had some downtime where we've been in flux, maybe waiting for a permit to come through or some understanding to come through, we've been able to do some strategic planning, marketing the community, and developing more of our adventure. Some of the things that the Lost did most specifically, and here's just a picture right here. This was at our naming of the Legends of Superior Trail. We have an annual event every February, and we do that to commemorate that back in 2011, our first segment, our Gateway Community segment, was actually opened and dedicated. And that was the segment that was from the Superior Airport right off of US 60 out to Hewitt Station Road. At that time, we weren't even going out to the Picket Post Trailhead. The good thing is that we had established a trail. So when they built the highway, when they started to build the highway, the Arizona Department of Transportation had to fund a reroute and a redevelopment of our trail. So they had to do some of our mitigation. We are really proud to say that last week the Forest Service has agreed to our reroute, which will be through Arnett Canyon, which is a really, really extremely beautiful area, riparian area that is just to the east of Picket Post Trailhead. So it's going to open up not only a safe route for through hikers to use, but another area for day recreation users. We're starting to harness this more in our community, and not just for the hikers and the mountain bikers, but also ATV users and equestrian users. It's as we get more and more popular in our community, and because of our proximity to the metro areas, we're really having to work a little bit harder on our planning for outdoor recreation. Superior itself is only 3 square miles. And so with only being 3 square miles, most of our land is either mining land and or Forest Service land. So our relationships are very important that we have to have with them to ensure that we get things done. So how did we get to where we're at right now? With some tips, we were able to find some passionate people to get involved with. One of the great successes early on for the Lost Trail was that the Forest Service, there were people within the Tonto National Forest Service that were very interested in preserving and identifying some ruins of the original Pinal City, which had been basically Superior before Superior was founded. And that's where the Silver King mine ore was smelted. And so there's some remnants of those buildings. They wanted to kind of protect and preserve some of what was left and be able to tell that story. We also have the gravesite of Mattie Earp, and we wanted to connect people to that in a safe and reasonable manner and protect that as well. So we were able to find some passionate people. We also found that Game and Fish was very interested in participating with us and being supportive of this, because they had a lot of people coming out to use the forest for hunting and different types of activities. So they've been involved with us from the very get-go. We've had partners, everyone from the Arizona Audubon Association to Resolution Copper. So you have to find passionate people to involve yourself with. The other thing, you want to find people that are willing to actually do some of the backbreaking work. Without the support of the Arizona Trail, we wouldn't have ever built our first segment of trail, because they're who taught us how to build our trails. My recommendation is always make sure you talk with your local leaders and land managers. Build a trusting relationship with them. Had we not been building upon this relationship and developing some reciprocity back and forth, I'm not sure that some of our projects would have went through so smoothly. We were very concerned about our reroute through Arnett Canyon, because there were a few stakeholders in the area that were not necessarily a big fan of that particular route. But we sat down, we've had a few meetings, we all meet our needs, and fortunately that has the coalition, is that you really have to communicate with your business community. Most of the businesses understand that they do have hikers, and mountain bikers, that come into the area, but they don't understand how many are coming. So you really have to spend time to talk with them, and meet with them one-on-one. Make time to talk with them, because most of the times they're just too busy to understand, unless they're very defined niche businesses, such as that brewery. They've been able to develop their business kind of around the trail. In our particular area, in the Copper Corridor, Superior, we have businesses that are learning how to be more accommodating to hikers and mountain bikers, and what are some of the things that they need. In Kearney, there's a great example of a pizza place, Old Time Pizza. They actually deliver pizza to the trailhead, the Kelvin Riverside trailhead. So there's a little reminder in the guides that say, if you want to order your pizza, if you order it at this point, it can be delivered. There is, of course, a fee. But we've been working very hard to help our local businesses to see that, figure out how they can maybe add value to the services that they're providing, so that way they can move forward with developing this niche in their business. And so what are some of your resources if you're looking to develop your trails? Obviously, if you're a gateway community off the Arizona Trail, or you're anywhere near the Arizona Trail, I would start getting in contact with someone there, Matt Nelson, obviously, or any of the other gateway communities near you. What we found is that when Superior got busy and started to work with the Arizona Trail, then our sister communities of Kearney and Hayden and Winkleman, they've become more interested. So you all start kind of building a bigger team. Even Globe Miami, because from Superior, the next best place to get services is Roosevelt, but there's very limited services. So it's really between Superior and Pine that have the most defined communities, gateway communities throughout the region. Game and Fish is often another resource. They often have grants and different types of funding, but they also have training, and they're willing to come out to different festivals and events and talk about their role in outdoor recreation. State Parks and Trails, that's another particular entity that many have to work with. For the Copper Corridor specifically, Superior has the Boyce Thompson Arboretum that's right next to Superior, and the trail does go near there. But you also have the Oracle State Park, where you have the trail that actually runs through the state parks. So that relationship is often very important in talking to again, having local designees, that people understand what's going on. What we found in our situation with the Arboretum is that there just hadn't been a strong enough relationship and a trusting relationship that had it just hadn't really existed in so many years, that helped us to get that back on track. And I believe that's what helped us we were able to avoid going through a costly environmental review to get our trails built. Local parks and recreation. Lots of your municipalities will have parks and recreation programs. Superior doesn't have that. Superior kind of relies on the Lost Trail nonprofit to help us with trail development and trail accessibilities and what do we need to do there. It's kind of an opposite, but in the future, the town will obviously play a larger role. The Arizona Office of Tourism, another great partner. If you're having mini trail events or you're having events to promote outdoor recreation, make sure you're working with them because they will help to promote your events. And there's some really great resources there. And again, if you're developing trails that are somewhat in your city limits or community limits, and then you have to work with your land managers such as BLM or the Tonto National Forest, I would start talking to them right away. It's much easier for them to say yes when they are involved from the very get-go versus when you're getting information at the very end or you're reaching a grant deadline. It's better to establish that relationship. And I just want to point out in this picture, this is not, this particular trail is off of our Cross Canyon segment, and this overlooks Superior. So the Picket Post, this is Picket Post Mountain right here where my pencil's at, and approximately out there somewhere, probably right around there, is where the Arizona Trail head actually is at. So blazing new trails, these are some of the things that we learned because of our reroute is with the Arnett Canyon. I've already kind of discussed some of that. We did have to understand environmental regulations and the NEPA Act, because you're still recreating in an area that needs to have studies. You have to understand all of these things. It isn't always easy to manage all of those, especially when you're a nonprofit. Capacity building. We're at a point now where we need to keep building upon our board, our nonprofit board, because we're finally at a point that raising the funds and developing the full-on marketing strategy is very important. We've been able to leverage some support with our Chamber of Commerce and the town now that we have more solid working relationships to work on some marketing strategies that promote outdoor recreation. One of the things that came out of the Lost Trail and out of all the permitting that's going around with Resolution Copper is the development of a recreation users group. And it's a moderated group. We have a moderator that comes in, and they're working with everybody who wants to recreate on the forest, from the horseback riders to the International Mountain Bikers Association, the Lost, Queen Creek Climbing Coalition. We have a lot of different user groups that are very interested in developing trails. Our goal is to start developing quadrants of areas where we want trails developed for a longer range master plan, use resolutions resources to hopefully help us fund the NEPA processes, the permitting that needs to go through, and then be able to go out and apply for grants and maybe some other private funding to build some of these trails and maintain them. Maintaining the trails is oftentimes the more difficult process that you have to find, because you really need volunteers and you need tools and equipment, and it's oftentimes hard to find volunteers to keep things clean. So some essentials for success: communicate, make sure that you educate people on what you're doing, educate your community, talk it up as much as you can, plan, and again, just like any other plan, something can definitely take you by storm and your route could be changed. We were not anticipating last week. We had 2 major breakthroughs come through on our trail development. We took a very stagnant, what was just kind of moving, what was moving very slowly to now all of a sudden the pot is about to boil over with opportunity. And it's a great thing, but we are trying to now manage this because we're going to need a few more volunteers and a few more dollars. Collaborate as often as possible. Find different organizations. Work with your Chamber of Commerce. Maybe it's a school group. We've worked with the Arizona Trail. They have the Seeds for Stewardship program in the school. We're trying to bring that into the community as well. Our superintendent would like to start a hiking club. So you have to really be willing to change some of the culture of your community that we've taken it for granted that, oh, we go out and enjoy the outdoors, but without any real rhyme or reason. It's just what we do. So teaching better stewardship is really important. Always have fun. You're going to use a tremendous amount of volunteer work. You're going to have times where you're going to have more ideas than you're going to have money. Try to have fun, appreciate your volunteers. And like anything else, safety should come first. If you're doing work days, make sure you do emphasize your safety, how to use tools properly, and first aid kits and water and all that kind of good stuff. And I mention that because when you think about safety and first aid and all of that, it's not just when you're working physically, but it's also when you're working with your groups and your committees. And, everybody's got a lot of ideas and everybody has passion. And it's always good to take a step back and listen to what everybody else needs to happen and what's the bigger mission, because it's very easy to get distracted from that. So here's another picture of Superior. This was taken from Apache Leap, looking down into our community. And this is our main street right here. Our hope is that we will eventually have a trail that comes up along here at Queen Creek that'll follow up our main street and come all through this neighborhood and all the way up through our canyon segment. This would link our entire town with basically a linear trail with hopefully future offshoots and little loops that will not only make our community more walkable, it'll add to the value of the community. We have a major 4-lane highway coming through our community. We have a lot of walkers, so we're having to find different ways for them to move throughout the community without walking over the highway. That's very important. Plus, accommodate all of these people that like to recreate in our community. One of the little aspects right here is we have a little magma club, and one of our dreams is to eventually have a bridge that crosses Queen Creek here and onto our Lost Trail. So, and I always like to leave with a little bit of inspiration. Our trail success is really only due to so many people getting involved, and land managers and the Arizona Trail Association. So never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And that's something that I live by. And here's my contact. This is actually the view from the tunnel. If you reach the very end of the Lost Trail at the tunnel, this is actually the view. You're seeing US 60 here. Superior is basically around the corner, and there's Picket Post. So we can definitely make it all the way around. And that's it for me, and I'm here to answer any clarifying questions or any questions anybody else may have. And I apologize for cutting in and out. So.
Whoa, why is this? Sorry. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Mila. I'm having some difficulty with our last set of slides. But during this time, if there are any questions, deep questions or anything you wanted to ask that you may have not had the chance to ask yet, this is the time now to do so. And as we sort of give some space for people to type out if they have any questions or not, I just wanted to go through what's coming up next with the Arizona Rural Development Council and Local First Arizona Foundation partnership. So in October, we have our Solutions for Rural Development webinar. This one is backed by popular demand. It's called How to Leverage Your Business for the Holiday Season. It's from one of our partners, Ideas Collide, and they have put together some wonderful actionable tips and real-world examples on how to get your business ready for the holiday season and some great marketing advice. And this is free, just like our entire Solutions for Rural Development series. And we'll have more information for signing up for that soon. It will be a pre-recorded webinar, unlike most of our live webinars. But information on that will be sent out through our monthly e-blast, our blog post on the Arizona Rural Development Council webpage, and Local First Arizona's social media platforms. In November, we have our Arizona Fall Fest put on by Local First Arizona. It's November 4th. And this festival celebrates local businesses all around the entire state. Some of our main features are our all Arizonan beer and wine spirits garden, the kids zone with activities, live music and cultural performances throughout the day, local foods and chefs, and over 200 local business vendors. Once again, these are from people all around the state. So if you want to get out here to Phoenix and just celebrate local businesses around the state, we encourage you to look for more information on the Local First Arizona Facebook or website for more details. And then lastly, in January, we will be starting the 2018 Solutions for Rural Development webinar series with a webinar from our own Kimber Lanning of Local First Arizona titled Leveraging Your Localness. And that will be January 18th. And once again, we will have information for registration coming out via all of our social media platforms and websites. So it looks like we are good to go on the questions. I once again want to thank our presenters so much for this. This was really wonderful. It's a topic that I hold very close to my heart. And I'd like to also thank all of the participants for signing up and continuing to propel these webinars forward with your participation. So here is my contact information. And once again, we'll be sending out the recording in about a week. So I hope everyone has a great day, and I will be in touch in the upcoming weeks for our next webinar. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.